It is 5 o'clock, so let's, I don't think there's anyone missing that we're expecting. Bonnie's not making it, and we're missing Claire. But, okay. Look at that. You see her name, she walks through the door. Just waiting for you. So let's call the meeting to order. Did everyone get a chance to look at the agenda? Do we have approval of the agenda for this evening? Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Looks like it's unanimous. Okay, let's move on to the public discussion. Do we have anyone? No one, that was fast. Let's go on to the items we discussed. So we first have election of officers. The nominating committee has the slate.
Yes, that's me. Page 105, you'll find in the agenda, you'll find her.
Oh, this is quite an agenda.
Yeah, page 105, we'll have the nominating committee's minutes. So the committee met on the 30th of March, for a meeting, quick meeting. And, so the nominating committee has nominated the following individuals as officers for the upcoming or next, fiscal year. And they have nominated Joseph Massa to be the president, Claire Matthews, the vice president, and John Rayburn to be the secretary. All candidates have confirmed that they will accept those nominations.
We can also take nominations from the floor. This is simply a slate. Anyone wants to make nominations from the floor? Discussion of the slate? All right, then do we have a motion to accept the slate of officers for next year? So moved.
With that,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Okay.
and I abstained for the record.
We have the general library personnel policies.
Yes, part of the reason why this is such a large packet is this policy itself. So one thing I want to just mention, we talked a little bit about redlining at the last meeting. We retained the red line version of this policy because the ADA requirements go into effect tomorrow. And we had done quite a bit of work to redline this particular policy, and I just thought it would be good for everyone to see. There's a couple of different options. We talked about some last board meeting, but one option is to provide a policy draft in the packet and then provide you a red line version at the meeting as a handout. And then another is to have a red line version, but we can include words like insert before text that's inserted and then delete before things that we strike through so that the screen reader would read those words as well. Either way, that we could do preference.
It would be, I think, confusing for the screen reader if there's no indication where the insertion or deletion ends.
Yeah, we'd have to
So,
find-
yeah.
and
okay.
delete. So it would be delete.
And then-
This
and
word, this
delete.
word, this word, this word, and delete. Yeah, so it is a little, the other issue is that one of the things that we do with red line copies is then we just accept the changes.
Oh, right.
And if we do the insert and insert, delete and delete, we'll be going through, which isn't a huge deal for most policies. The only ones that are in this one,
Yeah.
and maybe some others, but
It's just that makes for challenging comparison, but we'll have to go over it line
Yeah,
by
just
line
to
and
make
screen
sure.
reader.
I mean, is it possible to provide the red lines to us as not part of the board packet?
yeah, as a handout.
Well, I mean, not as a physical handout, but as a document that you send to us.
It would have to be a physical handout per the meeting agenda requirements. That's, I
Or
think,
could we attach both and so that it could be available to the public, however, are we doubling the work?
both might not meet ADA requirements for the packet itself because
So if it's the same document, two formats, it's not meeting the AD requirements. What does the city do in these cases?
Apparently they do a variety of things. Sometimes they do handouts with red line copies. Sometimes they don't provide a red line copy at all. It depends on the department that is doing the work. We could
what,
do a variety of things and see what you think.
Well, I think maybe I get the sense that you may know more about what works and what doesn't.
oh, no.
Okay.
And which is why I'm asking questions. So from my perspective, getting a physical handout at the meeting doesn't really address the reasons I want to be able to see a red
I
line,
know.
right?
Yeah.
Is it possible to do the red lines as like an appendix, so they're not part of the main packet and they're not interfering with the screen readers?
We could look into it. Yeah.
Okay.
Cause yeah, I think generally, tend to be in favor of the, if at all possible, having one copy that's for everything. So I think I would lean towards the delete
Right.
and delete option. But yeah, it's also kind of one of those things. I hope that because of the DOJ's mandate, that software gets updated and has an easier option for inserting and removing
Yeah,
that. But I guess like we can't necessarily rely on that making our lives easier. Was wondering along those lines, the DOJ did extend the deadline for that, or we as a library going to be sticking to tomorrow as the
We were going to try to. We're so close to, but we also want to make the packet accessible. It's a
Yeah.
value.
what was
It
like,
is
and yeah, and it's been mandate or not, it's
Right.
yeah,
the best thing to do.
yeah.
That's the chair. Decision.
But yeah, so I think yeah, I think it would be good to try different options. I think at least for the official, I would stray towards the including the delete, and then maybe if we can include the same kind of red line we've been doing as an appendix or another way that still yeah meets ADA compliance and the intention with that, and as we're experimenting with the best way to meet all needs.
Well, if you can put like brackets or something around the words.
Yes.
Then you can at least do a global find and replace.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
It's just those when it's just one word.
Yes, it's great.
Shalls and wills
Right.
that we have recently edited. That's a lot of insert and delete. And it just really breaks up the whole reading. I understand both sides and I'm not necessarily on one side or another. I love the appendix idea, but you know, I agree with Kelsey that the reason you like the red line there is so you can compare it as you're looking.
We'll look into the appendix.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, we might have to end up with that insert delete for every shot in Will in May.
That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. We
Yeah.
Capital letter.
That's
Right.
in full support of accessibility, just trying to make sure we can make it work for everybody.
And maybe there will come a time where this is a lot easier to do and there'll be software in Microsoft Advance because they'll have to. We're not the only people that.
Right.
It's also internal documents too, so it's there's that it covers as well, so
Mhm.
it's just.
Mhm.
So we've got
Excuse me. Chair, could I have 3 minutes of public comment to praise some library employees?
we have 100-page agenda I'd like to work through. If we can get to the end, we're not going to interrupt the middle of a topic on the agenda to do that at this time. So we know structurally how we want to handle this. What do we want to do with the content?
Oh, the content of the personnel policy.
Right, the content of the personnel policy that we're in the middle of.
Yep, so the policy is pretty much a duplicate of the city of Iowa City's personnel policies, which were updated in December of 2025. We rely on the Human Resources Department at the city as well as the city attorney's office. And we just want to make sure that our policies closely align with theirs. we do make some changes as you're a semi-autonomous board, and making sure that those, that's put in the policy. But the draft presented would bring us up to date with the cities.
So is there anything within the policy that people would like to explore more?
When I'm looking at this, maybe I missed it in the narrative, but what's the blue versus the red?
There was two different drafts of this.
Okay.
And there's just
That's
two of us working on it.
Where's the
'cause it was a
legend? for
large,
that? Okay,
so
gotcha.
one of us, yeah. It's just Microsoft Word, a shared document.
We're digging into this policy for a moment. If we can look on page 28, it would be under, oh gosh, 502.9, where that's the main, where it says employee assistance program. And then the next, so on page 28, then it says substance abuse, and then 502.1, substance abuse policy. I really think we need to get, we should not use the word substance abuse. That language is not really endorsed anymore by, oh goodness, American Psychological Association, American Psychiatric Association, Council for Social Workers, and so forth. We get away from using abuse. Instead, we use use. So substance use and substance use policy, I think, is a better language to use. It's stigmatizing oftentimes to associate to use substance abuse can be stigmatizing language. And so anyway, I'd like to see that changed.
So are you saying in 502.10.101, the word abuse under number 2?
Anywhere where it says substance abuse, I think it should just say substance use.
Thoughts, feedback?
Is this draft from the city? Okay.
Are we able to make that adjustment if we're not using city policy?
I think we could.
I mean, it makes sense, looks like the intent's there, but it's
Cities
still
didn't use it
stigmatizing.
either. Should know better if they are, quite honestly.
Other comments?
I think that's a good idea.
And extend into the drug abuse within the .101 policy and
Yeah,
change, you know.
So like create a workplace environment free from the adverse effects of drug use, right? Instead of drug abuse.
right.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So is alcohol still saying misuse?
Yeah.
Or because afterward, the adverse effects, I would think the adverse effects of both. Because actually you're after the adverse effects on the whole usage.
And I think there's a difference between misuse and abuse
Yeah,
in my mind of
But
the.
I'm just saying on consistency, like consistency, right?
right.
I don't have a preference, I'm just asking for you if you're more knowledgeable about this. Or we can keep it misuse at the moment if you.
I think we're fine with misuse.
Changing
I,
the abuse.
yeah, I
Yes,
see
it
that
does.
still
Yeah.
used without any objections really from the rehabilitation community.
Well, yeah, and in under 502.9, it says substance or alcohol use there. It doesn't say abuse, but that switches, like you said, to using abuse. The rest of the way.
Anything else on that specific topic? I mean, can I ask you for clarification under issues, the clarification about the discounted pricing available to the city for personal purchases? That's that phrase, this was on page 5, the first bulleted point. The phrase confuses me, is the city has discounted pricing available for personal purchases? That use of it is violating the city's policy?
I think they clarified that in the policy itself is that you can't, as an employee, in your personal life, you cannot take advantage of discounts that the city gets for
I
itself.
see, so their intention is for
Right.
the larger institution, not for the individual.
Yeah, it's just like you can't take gifts. Like if we do accept a gift, it's for the library, it's not for personally ourselves. If there's discounts available from vendors, that's not for us, that's specifically for the library, yeah.
It's also true for the university. It's flaunted all the time.
Oh,
I mean, well, one of the things that used to be, and maybe still is, a compensation for being a faculty member is you get exam copies from publishers. Those cost more than $3. So technically you shouldn't be able to accept them. But people have and do, and it never was enforced. It was one of those laws that is so outrageously unreliable that it just isn't. Nobody enforces it.
until it's large.
Yeah, someone wants to take issue, and then it has to be in the policy so that you can have a statement to place it.
This is just like a consistency of terminology thing on page 10 of the packet. In the sexual based harassment section, it changes between sexual based and sexual harassment. The phrasing, right there.
What page are we on?
Page 10 of the packet, which is page 4 of the
Oh,
policy.
yeah. Okay.
It isn't like just harassment.
I propose a very uncontroversial, I think, amendment. This is on page 5 of the policy, and EH, the third line down. Outing someone without their permission, and there should just be cut because a person is not. So it'd be outing someone without permission.
Is it possible that it could be interpreted as a supervisor giving permission or someone above?
I
Is it
can't.
possible that someone could misunderstand it and think that they were given permission by someone above a supervisor to out someone? By removing the word there.
I mean, that would be grammatically impossible here, I think, because the subject here that it refers to is someone. I mean, that's the antecedent.
Right.
We could just say the person's permission.
The individual's permission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be clarifying.
Would it be okay if I ran down some of the current changes?
Sure.
So. The page. So, page 10 in the packet, we'll change that, under 0.52, sexual harassment, we'll change it to harassment. On the next page, we will change it to outing someone without the person's permission. And then when. Sorry.
No, it's a lot of pages. It's a lot of pages.
And then moving to 27 and 28 of the packet, as well as through 29, anytime that we use the word abuse, we will change it to use, but we will keep misuse. So.
It's a point of information, but in this list of things, one is genetic information. I know what genetics are, but how does one ever express a genetic information?
Well, I think with healthcare, there's quite a bit of information now related to all sorts of genetic information you can get based on if you have a specific gene for a specific health issue. Sharing that information that's private information.
Right. Uh, But, well, I just don't understand how, if I wanted to insult somebody's genetic information, how would I know it? Unless they told it to
It's
me.
not so much insult, but discrimination. Based on
Filing for FMLA with your supervisor, they may have access to medical records during that process.
I haven't done it, but isn't ancestry.com still publish it and
Mhm.
share it and connect you theoretically with other people? So like that would come up in the line of library work when we're doing genealogy and things like that. That would be a natural progress. I mean, I don't know too many instances, but theoretically, those kinds of genealogy work, it does come up.
I had something on page 21 of the packet, which is page 15 of the policy. In 0.73 weapons, this isn't about library employees, but it's then talking about Iowa State Police being exempt, but they're not library employees. So do we need that language?
They do come onto city property. I mean, on library property, excuse me.
And is this covering library employees or city employees? Is there not a library employee women?
Like I said, it says weapons are not allowed on city property. So that's specific to the weapons being, okay.
We've always kept that part of the
Yeah.
policy in previous years.
Either way. Is there a preference for whether pursue removal of those words?
I think it makes sense to keep it in since they have specifically city property listed higher up in it.
And there have been instances of our police officers needing to
Be in the library.
be in the library and actively in the library, not just, like, making rounds.
And yeah, I think even if, this policy applies more for employees, I don't think it was contradictory to anything and adds a little bit of clarity if you are witnessing other people on the property.
So is a preference to keep it as is?
Yeah.
So
Other comments?
Did have some concerns about the section on drug testing.
What page are we on?
Which is starting on page 31 of the packet, page 25 of the policies. Some of these symptoms can be symptoms of medical emergency. And there doesn't seem to be any, if the person declines testing, it's assumed that they're on drugs. There doesn't seem to be any sort of leeway in the policy for addressing if it turns out it was a medical emergency, which could be protected by any number of state and federal laws. So I don't know how to address that, but
Usually if it were at this point, we would be talking to the city attorney's office or to the human resources department, and it would be in addition to protect. The only time that or in my history that we've ever discussed having one was when somebody was in the hospital and it was based on an accident. And we ended up not going with the doctor's recommendation.
Okay.
But that is, I can bring that up with legal if you don't put that part in the policy.
I mean, I'd be curious to hear what they have to say about it.
Other input? If you feel we're in a position to, I'm sorry, Dave, cut someone off.
No, I was just reading it again. Because it does say in the previous, like this evidence is drawn from specific objective and articulable facts, reasonable inferences drawn from those facts. So there's room for like anecdotal, evaluation as well in the policy. So, I mean, I would presume that the first impulse is not to drug test someone. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm reading between the lines a little too much, but it does, reasonable suspicion. And inferences in light of experience. Seems like it sounds a little bit more, not just like a single instance, like a single case, unless there's some serious ongoing, like regular issues with.
But it doesn't actually say
I don't know, it
that, which
doesn't.
is why I'm raising the concern.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying we need to make any amendments to it based on that. I would just want to hear what the city attorney has to say about that.
Would you, let's say, want to hold approving this while reaching out, or approve what is here, but also reach out
I'm
for
okay with
further
approving what's
amendments?
here, but if we need to make further amendments depending on the answer, then I would want to put it on a later,
Come back to.
yeah.
Do we feel that we're in a position tonight to approve it? You have and if so. We need someone to offer up to the here.
Yeah, move to approve as is, with the understanding that we'll also reach out for clarification on that point.
With the adjustments made.
And yes, with the adjustments discussed tonight.
You have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained.
Let's move on. We are going to go up to the confidentiality and privacy policy.
Sam, do you want to take the lead on this?
Yeah, so as you can see, we have a myriad of very important things like change. We recognize that we do track birthdays, and that's important because as scary as this may sound, there's often more than one Sam Helmick out there. And if they both have library cards, we need to understand who is who and who we're checking out to. And so while we've been doing that in practice, we are always as an institution trying to be very transparent about our dedication to privacy and the things we do track. And so we want to make sure that is reflected in our policy. And because I think that reference and IT and correction services and my staff, in circulation and high children's do such a fine job, it does make sense that this would be the only salient change between the last. So if I can honor any questions, I'd love to. I knew you didn't pay me by the word, so I just added them.
Thoughts, reactions?
This is pending legislation, right? You guys revisit, depending on whether it does or does not hit the floor and okay. Because I know this is, the privacy of library records is still.
Yeah, no changes.
Take it, okay. It's not this time.
Any other feedback?
I really like 802.4. I love that it's in our policy. That's all.
I'm sorry, can I be weird and walk up on you?
Oh, yeah.
You don't have it memorized.
But it's intellectual freedom portion.
Yeah, I like it too.
So we have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, let us move on. We are going to go to the strategic plan draft language.
Yes, so we are coming on a new year, which means that our current strategic plan, which is a 3-year plan, is coming to an end. So I'm 8 months It's been 8 months since I've been the labor director. And I think we're at a moment, where I'm not quite ready to write a new plan, and I could rush one for you, another 3 to 5 year plan. But I don't think that's the right thing to do. We could extend the current plan for another year, but I also don't think that's the right thing to do. I think there should be 3 main objectives next year, if you agree. One is to do a community assessment, and dive deep into the community, look into what our needs are, do focus groups, observation studies, see how the library's use is changing. And then from there, develop a 3 to 5 year plan, depending on what the information is. It could be a long-term plan, it could be 5 years, it could be 3. I don't know that yet because I need to know what the community wants and needs. And then the third thing, a part of the strategic plan would be also the long range facilities plan. Do we want to invest more into the building? What's gonna happen with the bookmobile that's up on 10 years? So we'll have to start planning on a replacement for that vehicle. And what does that look like? Or do we want to look outward and serve neighborhoods differently? Those are questions we would want to go through in a strategic plan. And then the third thing would be to do the refurbishment of the library, which is the recarpeting, painting. We would be choosing new furniture, freshening up the place. And so those are 3 very big things to do in 1 year. So I have some draft wording for you for 3 goals. Happy to edit anything. And then just an overview of what I was thinking in place that it was. Any feedback?
Are we comfortable with this 1 year bridge?
Yeah, and I appreciate your thoughtful consideration in not wanting to rush into a new strategic plan or extend the current one, but create that bridge. So, I mean, thank you for that. Yeah, and I think your point about understanding what the community needs and how they're using the library right now is really important as thinking forward, what do we need to plan for? That makes sense.
I think we've been reacting quite a bit in the last, since 2020, reacting to trying to figure out, all right, how are things being, I think we're well into a time where things have been, it doesn't mean there's going to be massive change. There's going to be massive change. But it's time to start really thinking long term.
Just to remind everyone, the strategic plan does come back to the board for approval.
Right.
So this is sort of a working plan here. Final approval comes back to the board.
We also need a strategic plan for accreditation, so I didn't want us to go.
Right.
No,
We didn't have enough reading material. All right. Do we need to vote on this? I think so. So we take do we have a motion to approve the 1 year goals here?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. All right, we are just flying along here. Let's get into the quarterly financials.
We are kind of working on the same trends that were in the second quarter. Made their way to the third quarter. Library materials still is behind where we would want it to be. If you look at the materials added report, which is, we've added over 5,000 items in the third quarter. We're typically adding about 8,000 to 9,000 during that time. So if you went into collection services, you'd see a little bit of a backlog. We're trying to get things through just because we have to reprocess every single book now. It's really just amazing how much we relied on those vendor capabilities, but we have hope. Ingram told us we've moved up in the line, right? That was the last.
That is the last. Yes, we are in there expedited or beta, whatever language they use.
Yes.
First.
We had asked Ingram for processing a year before Baker and Taylor closed. So that is how long we've been waiting to get processing with that secondary vendor. And we are having hopes with other vendors, smaller ones that I think we will get online faster, mostly for children's materials. But we do have some opportunities in the fourth quarter. We are working with the neighborhood centers to stock their library. We'll have more information about that in the next packet. So we have some ways that we can use our spending and have some. I think we'll be okay this year. We will not be okay with the library materials processing. We are not going to spend that money, but we have told the city that. And they know that we're going to need it for the following year. It's just this year's been weird. And then the personnel budget is underspent as well, and that's mostly just because we had that opening management position.
I was a little bit surprised the consultant services were so low.
Yes.
To date, is there a specific reason for that, especially with the transitions going on?
Yeah, so most of those consultant money was going to be used for cybersecurity consulting, and we've done a little bit in the beginning, but we have turned over to the migration. That portion was paid out of a different fund. Their consultancy was just included in the purchase of the ILS. We might actually use that consulting money for them to work on certain projects with the ILS now that we're using it. What's nice about the new vendors, we can pay them to develop certain portions. So if something's not working for us, they can recode a section of the ILS for us.
So as we continue to overturn our heating and cooling, and we have another quarter of the year to go.
Heating, cooling, repair and maintenance services. Yes.
I was gonna say, where are you robbing to make up that difference?
Yeah, right now, there's the other line is structural, which we've underspent. And then there's other building maintenance and services that we have underspent.
So we have enough buffer to get through the end of the year,
Yes.
as long as we don't have a heat wave or
Well, we have a heat wave. It's just that the HVAC has to work.
Yeah, since we're not projected to get, isn't that 2030? That's
2030 right now, but it may move up depending with the loss.
So like, are you anticipating changing line items for the future? Because we're anticipating this cost is gonna continue or rise even as we're
We
moving along with that.
we asked for a 40% increase in that line, that repair line, and so far it looks like
They're just
sitting there.
some things around for the
It's-
future, so it doesn't look so
It's not, yeah.
dramatic in one item versus another.
would you like the situation explained as the new person?
I think I watched it I think I watched when you talked about
Okay,
it.
all right.
So yes,
I forget that there's a new person.
no, it's okay.
Well, topics in the ongoing topics.
Yes, no, I think I.
Not sure. Okay,
Always that one in the house, the Buckmobile doing. It's a nothing.
Feels
Man,
doing great.
Right, the mechanical surprises.
Yeah, we've had a couple issues with the back staircase and
The charging port.
charging port. That was not the bookmobile. It was the charging port that was
Where we
that we
plug
plug it
into.
into. So that was fixed recently.
That was installed 10 years ago, so.
I mean, the Buckmobile's always busy, but I assume the summer coming, it's slated for a busy season.
And it's something that we've been, worried about when there's storms. It's out in the open. It is under a bridge, but that doesn't provide a lot of cover. So when we're getting those hailstorms or we're getting those high winds,
Yeah.
it's not protected in the way that other city vehicles are.
there had been discussion of providing greater protection for it. Is that moving anywhere?
I think we'll have some opportunities as they move into their facilities plan. They're working with right now transit, but there's some fire stations that potentially could be rebuilt, and maybe that might be an opportunity to get, especially if you can just move it. You don't have to back it into anything.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. More questions? Well, if we have no more comments or questions, do we have a motion to approve? Do we? We have a second. All right, all those in favor? Okay. So we're still moving on. Let's go to the director's report.
answer any questions. I just two updates. The New York Times came and visited us on April 14th, and they took pictures of the collection services department, and so and video of processing books. It's kind of tied to that fallout of Baker and Taylor, trying to find a library that that is trying to work through those issues, and so I'm hoping once that story is shared, we'll send it along to you. The second thing is we met with the architect and the interior designer to kind of come back and start talking about that recarpeting project now that the funding has been secured. The budget was passed this week. And so we're hoping to try to get everything planned, all the documents out for bid and approval for you on the project by October so that we can start a construction date.
Did you get good turnout for the volunteer recognition?
We did. It was a very stormy day.
All right. You want to say anything about the manual or this menu work on the intellectual freedom?
Yeah, just an update of.
Okay. That was very efficient. But how about the departmental reports we received, those children's services? Have a low-key conversation tonight, isn't it?
Yeah. I was excited Helen made the agenda.
Oh,
She's in the picture.
In the picture?
Yeah. Under our story time room is filled each day. She's in there. Funny.
Is that National Unicorn Day?
That was National
Yes.
Unicorn Day.
She was apparently very scared of the classroom.
But, the Tinder is Sam's and it hangs out in Sam's office, so,
I told you it was gonna be good for professional purposes.
didn't know with a child.
She's fine. She's been back many times.
All right. You getting all psyched up for the summer? For the summer reading program?
Yes. It does start next month, so.
It's almost here.
Jason will have. It's not, okay, Jason said it's not next month, so. May is not happening, June.
So we're not gonna say in a couple of weeks and make it worse. Okay. Collection services, Trevor, what would you like us to know?
I would like you to know that it's been a week since I wrote this and it still holds true. To encounter any big changes, everything that has come up, we've been able to work with Bywater, work with our own staff to address it pretty immediately. There still are a lot of small quirks and some data issues that we're actively working on resolving, but I feel very confident in the way that we've been able to compile a list and share it with the implementation team to make sure that somebody is tackling an issue, or if it's something beyond our ability, they're already moved, so then we would get refined or make sure that it's. Does anybody have any questions specifically about how it went well?
Did you get any feedback from the community with any concern or?
We have heard a mix. I would say that some of the things we tried to reiterate to our staff over the week was a lot of the calls that we received were about problems that they encountered with password creation.
Yeah.
But the number of people calling were a small percentage.
Okay.
Very small percentage. Brent was always talking about it as like 1% to 2% of card holders were calling. The rest of. I was just gonna say that we are seeing some feedback from folks about having trouble with passwords. That has improved in the last couple of days. There's still some holdouts, some issues with authentication for online resources, but the most popular ones, Libby, Hoopla, and Canopy, seem to be under control.
We've had some hangups with AIM cards,
Hmm.
and I can talk to you separately. It doesn't have to be a board meeting thing, but the school librarians would like to get more information about how AIM cards are working. We have got some information. It was tested and did not.
We have that.
Yeah,
you
I was,
So-
it'd be me and Brent, and AIM cards have not changed at all.
So you're still using the same thing, but they will be changing once you
Oh,
hear.
okay, it's not
Once you
updated at
hear,
this point.
right, when
Okay.
you get the official word from me, and Brent, probably next week.
And from a communication standpoint, I have all the communication ready to go when IT says go, well, that's.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you
because
guys-
we're still, anyway, we've had some confused teenagers.
You're still,
Not surprised there.
you're still. There was
some-
communication sent out by us to our partners, through the school district and through North Liberty and Corval that it was going to have to change. And that
Oh,
there will
okay.
be changes coming, so, but we have, because of everything else that's going on, this is kind of like the last piece that will move forward. So
Okay.
right now,
We're
they're
waiting.
still the
Okay.
same, but it will have to change, as soon as it.
Excellent, thank you, because I think we just got over enthusiastic about hearing that it was all good to go, so I will pass that back to the schools.
Issues that have been reported, there is a portion, there's a page on our website where patrons can visit and see what has been reported and then the status either of when it was resolved or if it's current.
Awesome, because we love our aim cards. Okay, thank you.
Are you also covering for Brent tonight? Is the same topic or?
I won't answer explicitly very detailed questions, but I can absolutely.
Feel like there was overlap.
Questions.
Anything you want to get clarified? All right, then we go to the development report if we're ready. All right.
Well, I just want to say thank you for all the support, Bright Future. It was a wonderful night. People just kept recording and having a great time, and then it was just wonderful to be in community with each other. It was financially a success, I think, in terms of community building and just the library. It was a great success. So we're really pleased. You do have the program from the evening sitting on the table here in front of you. That's yours to keep. Just, you know, just in case you weren't able to make it or you wanted to revisit that information. We do, you know, we just keep charging forward, charging ahead, and we have our great gift day event on May 6th with community-wide giving, where we encourage the community to step up and support nonprofits and including others. And then we have a special event with Charity Nebby on May 17th, which we have about half the tickets sold for that. We expect as it gets closer to the event for more to sell. And it's going to be a wonderful evening for everyone back today. So far. Anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
This is a very quiet group tonight. Or the reports are very comprehensive. Comments? Thank you. Let's just move on then. I have a very brief report. I want to thank Joseph for sharing on last month when I wasn't here. I appreciate that. And then we have two appointments to the foundation board. Ellen and Corey have both agreed to step up and work with the development office and the foundation team. So I'm thinking, Katie, will you be in contact with them in July or for those appointments? Okay. All right, and thank you for the people who did the terms this year. You know, Joseph and Bonnie both worked actively with it, and their terms will end at the end of June. Anything else? Foundation updates. Joseph, do you have anything you want to share with us?
I wasn't able to attend the last finance meeting, but I know they're working diligently on getting the 990 tax return done. So looks like they've made a lot of really nice progress there. So other than that, I don't have anything else to report.
Okay. Advocacy team, anything on the updates?
We have not met. And I think a lot of it is kind of in a holding pattern at this point. It seems like that I haven't heard from the island governmental, you know, like the legislative team is watching many things, but I haven't had any calls to action recently. So,
I mean, you feel good or you're just holding your breath?
I'm curious. about it. I don't know. I don't know what to think at this point, honestly. Then amended to things that have to pass too, so, it's hard to say how it's gonna go.
I think the legislature is now in overtime too.
Yeah, they are in overtime. As of yesterday or the day before, this week.
All right. Communications, is there anything special in the news articles that we want to discuss?
I wanna say happy National Library Week to all of us,
Yeah.
everyone here. Yeah, it was on the school district's Facebook, social media, teaching kindergartners how to make salt crystals. Yeah, so it was very exciting. Only 4 of them ate it.
That's a little bit about the Dublin Award because maybe I'm the only one who didn't know a lot about it. But
Yeah, as a UNESCO City of Literature, they allow the libraries to provide a nominee that of a book that we think would be eligible for the Dublin Literary Award. And we are listed in here. I don't know what library they're describing because it says the library sits beside the Iowa River, includes a rooftop reading terrace with scenic views. That sounds lovely. But we did nominate the anecdote. In fact, guarantee as well. We
a little
often,
bit of fantasy too.
Yeah. There you go, it's real.
yeah, we often look, send them something that the best of the best that
Mhm.
yeah.
And do you base that decision on circulation numbers or just what library?
Staff,
Have read and.
We put a call out to all the library staff what their favorite books are, and then we put it together and we create this best of the best list.
Yeah.
So where is this actually centered? Do they have a physical location?
I think that one.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's in the Writers Museum or where it is that it's located. But okay,
I think it's their City of Literature.
yeah, they have a city literature like museum and a writers museum, which is really. I found myself in by accident. Like going through a back door trying to cut through a building and realizing, wait a minute, I think I want to stay and look at this. Any of the news articles you'd like to have us pay particular attention to? Just seems like a very active media month. Yeah. All right. We have the approve the minutes or the whole consent agenda here. Do we have motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make motions.
All right, we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed, abstains. I think we are set then to look at the agenda for the May meeting. And let's take it.
Sure, City Council approved the asking agreement and the admin confidentiality or confidential employee pay plans on Tuesday at their meeting, so those will both be in your May packet. We'll be looking at the library programs policy, the internet use policy, and I'm hoping that we'll have a building study conversation so we can get the finalized version of the building study.
All right. Do we need to take action to approve the agenda? Oh, good. I know we just set the agenda. Okay. Do we have a motion to, well, do we know if Gary's coming back or?
He said he'll come to next month.
Okay. Hopefully that's that. If people would rather have public be able to speak off agenda, I just want him to speak in the middle of an agenda item that we're in the conversation of, but if people like to handle that differently in the future, please just let us know. Or let me know, I'm figuring out the royal list. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Moved. All right, second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right, we'll see you in a month.